I'm excited. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Prep Life Podcast. This is your founder and CEO of Glam Girl Bikini, Amy Enger. And today I'm joined by my fabulous co host, Leemarie Hostetter. Hey, Lee.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
Yes. So today we are going to be talking about setbacks and overcoming them. And then we're also going to be talking about that long habit of just self sabotage and some things, ways to identify it, and then ways to kind of overcome both of these things. So I just want to be always real, raw, real talk. So let's talk about prep updates. And along with that will come, a week ago today, I had a little bit of a setback. I basically, we'll call it an unscheduled refeed.
Love it. Way to portray it in a positive light.
Yes. Yeah, that's my verbal talk to make it like a positive spin. So it was an unscheduled refeed. Basically, I had a moment where I was just feeling overwhelmed with life, schedule, very tired, very susceptible to giving into cravings. It doesn't help that it was that time of the month as well. So all of that combined, I did overeat one night and right away the next day I let my coach know. I actually tracked exactly what I ate, told her the exact macros, the exact calories, and we actually talked for like a half an hour about it, and I felt so much better. I was like so nervous because you never know, like with a coaching relationship, not everybody is, I guess not every coach that I've dealt with has been so like understanding and like provided a safe space for me to share those types of things. So it was very comforting to know that, she was supporting me. It gave me some tough love, but also, made adjustments and we kind of, turned things around and fingers crossed I haven't I've moved on from that, right? So, but yeah, it definitely helped me to kind of like talk through my goals and, how we're gonna pivot from this setback and so we'll kind of go through some bullet points when it comes to setbacks because I think everybody kind of has different ones than just overeating. I think it's a common one. But what are some
I
areas?
had one myself that I could just
Okay.
share real quick, totally different side of things. But
Yes.
a real setback was for the last like week and a half, I got a really like weird head cold. Like it
Right.
was only a cough and a headache, but the
Yep.
headache would not go away and the cough would not go away. And I was like, definitely felt like I wasn't training as hard. Definitely felt like I just needed more sleep, didn't have enough sleep, definitely drank more caffeine and probably took more cold medicine than anyone really should be taking. And so sometimes you have a setback like
Been
that
there.
that
Uh-huh.
makes you feel completely
Illness.
helpless because
Hmm.
your body is just falling apart. And
And
so,
it affects your training and your cardio and
yeah,
your recovery because your sleep and
and it can be
yeah,
so
that's definitely
discouraging.
a huge example. I think those are two really good examples of bodybuilding, two different parts of the spectrum. One I could have totally controlled, whereas
Yeah, and once
another one you can't control. And sometimes that happens with injuries or surgeries, whatever it may be. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to necessarily be within your control, but there are definitely some things that you can navigate very effectively. So we're going to go over some of those bullets. I believe we have 10.
Let's
So do
go.
you want to just take the odd and I'll take the even?
Yeah. So the first
Okay.
one, super important, acknowledge the setback. Recognize and accept that setbacks are normal. They happen. They're going to happen. We can prepare for them, but nothing is ever smooth sailing, zero bumps in the road. So bodybuilding preps are very specific and particular, and life is messy. So a bodybuilding prep, we would like everything to fall into place, all of our little boxes every single day, and we do our best to let that happen. But stuff like sicknesses, family emergencies, overwhelm, job changes, things like that happen. And so avoid denial, acknowledge the setback, and then face the situation head on. So
Mhm.
tackle it, come up with strategies, admit like what you did, like
Yeah.
telling your coach right away. tracking that food right away, like do the hard things, it's going to make it that much easier to overcome that setback.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's all about like numbers and data. Like when it comes to that kind of stuff, you just have to, unfortunately, like I'm going to have a more grindy prep. And I had more cardio and more like less food, but that's okay because I understand that, it's an average of the calories like you're eating in a day. And if I'm in one sitting, I'm eating like majority of the calories I would have in a day.
Yeah.
Um, it makes a
And your coach
difference.
is not, it's really important if it's a food thing to understand that extra cardio and lower calories, if that is the route that your coach chooses to take, sometimes you're far enough out that you just go back to normal.
Right.
But if
Right.
that's the path your coach chooses to take with you, it is not a punishment. It is not reflection on your character or behavior or worth. It is
Right.
actually them supporting your goals because your coach wants to present you on stage with the best package. It's actually them doing good for you. So
Yeah.
I think it's really important
Which
and hard not to see that as like a sort of direct punishment, but it's not.
Yeah, and I didn't take it that way because I know that I'm 8 weeks out and I know that where I need to be and that wasn't going to be like putting me in a good spot. It was gonna put me behind if I didn't, a deficit's a deficit at the end of the day. So,
Sure.
it wasn't something that I need to like be hard on myself about, but it's just a factor of, okay, this is like an extra like 125 calories every day on average for the week. So I need to be, you know, less, um, moving forward, basically.
Mhm.
Definitely wasn't a punishment. But number two is reflect on the cause. So analyze what kind of happened. And I think it's really good to just kind of think, especially if it's like an overeating situation, like what is the root cause? There's usually a root cause. And for me, it's usually lack of sleep, which just lessens my willpower. And I had been up very late the night before. I had woken up very early and I was absolutely just physically exhausted. And I just don't make great decisions in that, situation. So there's things that I can do to avoid that is just like being more aware of like, I need to set boundaries for myself when it comes to sleep, especially when I'm in prep. I can't just stay out like until 10 o'clock at night like, and then wake up at 4 in the morning and feel like I'm going to make good decisions by the end of that night. It's just not going to happen realistically. So I need to be more conscious of my sleep. So if, this person, for example, their setback was an injury or maybe something of that nature, like for you with, your illness, it's kind of like an organic deload. With an injury, you're going to have to focus more maybe on nutrition because your training is going to be compromised and things like that. So I just think, getting to that root cause, like figuring out what triggered it is such a big thing. And one of the first things that I did was I talked to my husband and then I also got on the phone with my therapist for like an hour and we talked through the whole situation. And then I talked to my coach. So it was like I had three people that were in my corner that were just like talking me through, like, what's the worst case scenario? Like, if I don't get on stage, I haven't signed up for it. I'll still maybe look really good in a bikini this summer, And like if that's the worst thing that happens, I'm okay with it. So anyway,
Absolutely. Okay, so number three is adjust your plan. So make modifications to your training or your nutrition or recovery based on the setback. However, we kind of did touch on this,
right.
but another good point is to talk to your coach or trainer. So hopefully, if you're doing a competition prep, you have a coach. I would caution strongly against modifying your own plan. So if you
Yeah.
go overboard, don't try to make up for it yourself by skipping meals, cutting your own calories, adding your own extra cardio. Talk to your coach and have them do it. And as many details as you can give them, If they're a good coach, they're not going to, chew you out or yell at you or anything, but they do need that information and that data to come up with a good plan. What you don't want to do is start a cycle. So
Mhm.
you don't want to try and cut your own calories or add in tons of extra cardio. And maybe if it was something like exhaustion that did trigger like an overeating episode, and then you go, trying to slash your own calories or trying to add in a bunch of extra cardio when really you maybe just needed a day off, you needed some extra sleep. So definitely, I would say adjusting the plan is a good, like a good solution to a setback, but talk to your coach.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I've been that person that I'll have like a binge or something and I'll hide from my coach, but I'll like restrict my calories or I'll like do extra cardio to try to like make up for it.
Mhm.
And it doesn't bode well. Like everybody needs to be on the same page and you need to have come in it with like an outside source that's like guiding you because no matter if you do, I've been doing this for how many years, but like you have your own prep goggles and sometimes like I'm my worst critic, or I like I'll want to make adjustments and I've done that in the past like with coaches like I'll make them before they make them and that's not the right thing to do. I need to trust them because that's why I hired them. I can do that for my own athletes, but for myself like you just don't have that like I guess non-biased situation where they're kind of like it's not that they're taking their emotions out of it, but they're not like in your body. Like they can just kind of like be objective about the situation, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. So,
Absolutely.
all right. Number 4 is stay positive. So just maintain, control, focus on what you can control. So in my situation, it was like moving forward. And I can control what happens from there on and how I stick to my food, rather than dwelling on the past of like that mistake. And I think anxiety comes from fear of the future and fear of what you've done in the past. And if you can actually stay in the present moment, it will eliminate that fear. That anxiety will go away if you are like just living in that 24 hours and not worrying about like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be ready in 8 weeks, or oh my gosh, I just overate yesterday. Like, think about what you can do today, and that's all you can do.
I love that. I love that.
Good.
Okay. So 5 is set new goals. So reassess your goals in light of the setback and adjust them if necessary. And then set smaller, achievable milestones to regain momentum and keep yourself motivated. I feel like that's maybe two separate things. New goals, I feel like would be more if you and your coach decide maybe you need to push back your show date
Mhm.
or maybe cancel the show. Do that. I've done that before. We've canceled shows, pushed it back, or if you decide, no, we're sticking to this goal, but then sometimes it does help to even just set a daily goal, set, an hourly goal,
Yeah.
just break it down to these smaller, just like you said, come into the present. What can I get done today? What can I get done this week?
Yep.
Sometimes just breaking down the huge goal into those little goals makes it seem less overwhelming. And it really does help you gain that momentum back that maybe that setback took out your momentum a little bit.
Yeah. And before I talked to my coach, I like literally started looking for shows like a month later or like, because there's always shows, like
Mhm.
there's always another goal. And, sometimes it doesn't align with what you've got going on in life. If you're like super busy at work or something like that, where it's like, okay, the stage isn't going anywhere. Like, I
Mhm.
want to be ready. I want to be like proud of what I did. And just because, and that's why I encourage people not to sign up right away. I don't want them to have to pay a late fee, but the longer you can wait, like book the hotel, book the flight, those are cancelable, but don't book your entry fee because you never know. You may have a setback like an injury, which would take months to, that you'd have to push it back or something like that, or a surgery. All right. 6 is is number. It is stay consistent. So just stick to your revised plan, remain committed to your goals, even when progress feels slow, overwhelming. Consistency is key for overcoming the setbacks and making progress in the long run. I can't stress this enough that prep is all about the like Groundhog Day, non-sexy, just what is done in the privacy of your own home, those choices that you make in the dark where no one sees, that's what really counts in prep. And, there's no like sprint to the finish. It's all just about like the day to day minutia and being like good with those consistent choices.
Absolutely. Okay, so 7, seek support. So lean on your support network. So friends, family, training partners, online communities, coach, share your struggles and successes. I love this. I have several different people that I can reach out to. A big one for me is with workouts. So if I'm exhausted and I don't feel motivated to work out, I have a handful of people that I can either find out if one of them will meet me at the gym because they will hold me accountable and I know I'll get a good workout in. Or if nobody can meet me at the gym, I'll text one of them and be like, man, I just don't, my head is not in it. And they will literally text me back, like, get your head in the game, Lee, you have a show. And like all that tough love. And I'll be like, you're absolutely right. I'm going to go in and I'm going to crush it. And then they'll check in with me later to find out if I crushed it or not. And so find those people that understand your goals. A training partner, if you can find one, is golden. But
Yes.
even just people that will text you those little tough love, like, let's get at it, let's go, you love this, remember who you are, chug some caffeine and get in the gym and get it done.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. My training partner, she's always like, man, whenever you don't go to the gym, she's like, I just make that choice not to go. And it's like, if you know that other person's like waiting for you and relying on you to be there, you're going to show up,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. Number 8 is practice patience and just understand that, it's going to take time. It's going to take effort. You're going to have to be patient with yourself and, go through this process, focus on bigger picture and all of the progress that you've made so far. So whenever I get discouraged, when I feel like I'm so far away from my goal, I look at, like where I started or, you know, like the other day I had looked at like where I was at last year at this time and it was like, oh my gosh, like my pictures have changed so much. You know, and it wasn't like a huge difference in weight, but I was like, man, my shape is a lot different. So I think just kind of celebrating where you've come from and knowing that it is gonna take time, but that you should also be patient with the process because you know, as long as it took you to put it on, it's gonna take you a long time to take some weight off or to build muscle, whatever your goal is. So
Okay, I just have like a little side, like personal experience with this too, is
yeah,
that over the years of doing bodybuilding preps and grinding it out and doing the Groundhog Day, every single day and going through
right.
in season, off season with you as a coach, this off season and this prep for me, I am eating the most food I have ever eaten since I started tracking and losing weight. So I'm in a deficit and my measurements are changing. I feel like my body looks different. And so I
Yes.
kind of always felt like I was just the person with the slow metabolism that always would be stuck on the low calories. Like even in my off season last year, my calories didn't even get that high. And
Right.
I've tracked for the last like 10 years, so I can scroll back in my fitness pal and like see what my calories were at. So
Yeah.
I just want to encourage people out there, it does take years of consistency. So that was because I didn't fall off and go back on and fall off and go back on. I stayed consistent, but I was able to actually raise the level of my food intake.
Yep.
So if you think you're the person that just can always has to diet like crazy, it's really more of a consistency thing and a gradual thing and not being in a rush, not gaining a ton of weight fast, but also not being in a rush to lose it. And
Mhm.
I really just want to encourage you guys. I thought that was me, and I honestly still can't believe how much food I'm eating right now. So be
Well, I was just admiring your shoulders like a
patient.
minute ago, and I'm like, that's another thing that's changed a lot on you too, is your muscle. So,
Yeah,
all
it's
right.
really good. Okay, so number 9 is to stay resilient. So use setbacks as opportunities to build resilience and mental toughness. Every time you get a setback, that's an opportunity for you to learn and grow.
Yes.
And that's just going to help you be a better athlete. It's going to help you encourage other people. If you also want to someday coach, or maybe you are a coach, your own setbacks can be learning opportunities for you to coach other athletes in a better and more understanding way. I always think like if I would have just, did my first competition, got nationally qualified, did my first national, got my pro card, did my first, like, if it would have just been smooth sailing with zero setbacks, I probably would not have had the years of relentless consistency. I probably wouldn't be eating this many calories because I wouldn't have had all those off seasons that I had to go through. I probably wouldn't have the muscle that I've developed because I would have just, kept prepping. And so I think your setbacks and the more time it takes, the better it's going to be and the better athlete you're going to be when your time comes. So just view your setbacks as they're really a gift for you to get mentally stronger, mentally tougher. You can use that mental toughness in all sorts of areas of your life. If you can come back from a setback and complete a bodybuilding prep, you can do anything. So you can use those skills. Let's say you have a setback at your job or in your family or with the sale of a house or a move or something like that. You'll be able to use these strategies to stay positive, to come up with a new plan, to set new goals. All of those things rely on your support team. That we're using all of these in a bodybuilding format, but I think if you learn these lessons, you could use them in every area of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm into that. So, number 10 is celebrate the progress. And I just think that that's super important, whether it's just a quarter of an inch in 1 week or, it's like 0.4 pounds, like you did something,
Mhm.
you pushed the needle a little bit. In some weeks, it's like a ton. And then you see a lot of progress. And then some weeks it's a little bit, but you need to celebrate every win moving forward. And
Mhm.
so, setbacks is one topic of today, and we're going to get into also self-sabotaging because I think that a lot of times that's kind of like the habitual process of a setback. It's like when you get into this habit of like you're you're stuck in your mentality and you're also stuck like in just not allowing yourself to succeed. And I think that it's very much human nature to do so because our brains sense like fear and change as a bad thing, as
Mhm.
a threat to our well being.
Mhm.
So getting uncomfortable is very hard for our brains to understand. And so it's much easier for us to just stay in the same habits, keep up the same, like whatever it is, whatever your goal is, whether it's in your relationship, your career, whatever, to be stable in our brain's mind. That's It's hard to go to like allow yourself the fear of a challenge and something that's pushing you beyond what you're currently achieving. So some ways that or some signs to know that you are one of these habitual self-sabotagers in the fitness space is number one, you're a negative thinker. So you're only focusing on the negative, you're ignoring the positive. You could have lost 3 pounds, but you are like, but I have 25 to go. So you're thinking of it as glass like half empty, basically.
Mhm. Yep, I see that a lot. Um, the second one is fear of failure. So, I mean, even they're putting the example like I'm going to fail in quotes, but like even like saying it, projecting it, just like anticipating it, versus I would say anticipate that you're going to succeed. I mean, you
Yeah.
could fail and then you can learn from it, but I would say failure is a setback. It's not an end. It doesn't have to end your goal. And so don't fear failure, accept it when it comes, but anticipate success.
Yeah. Number three is if you're a closet eater. So in the fitness space, if you're eating kind of like in secret, you're hiding food, hoarding food, stuff like that, that could be a sign that you are a self-sabotager.
Okay, so 4 is negative self-talker. So beating yourself up. This could be obvious or it can be subtle. So I actually used to be a negative self-talker, but it was very
Oh,
subtle. But you
Okay.
do see some people that just will say it out loud about themselves. Again, your brain listens to you. So
Yeah.
positive reinforcement actually works. But sometimes I would feel like as a trainer, when people would come up to me and they would like admire something about my physique, I felt like I had to say, oh, but I'm not da da da, or oh, like kind of take away that to like bring
Okay.
myself down to their level or something. But that can be a
Okay.
form of negative self-talk too. And so
Yeah.
I learned to just accept compliments and speak that over myself too. Positive reinforcement is absolutely powerful.
Yeah. Number 5 is the saint or the sinner mentality. So you're just like, I either have to be 100% perfect or, I failed, or I might as well eat whatever because I messed up this one meal. So the rest of the day is shot, stuff
Mhm,
like that.
mhm.
Kind of like that black and white mentality where you're not really thinking in the gray. Um, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think sometimes too, if it's just a one-off thing and you get right back on track in the middle of the day, you can really get by with not having that many calories when you really
Yeah.
think about it. If you just slipped up and ate one cookie,
Yep.
cool, just make up for it by the rest of the day or keep going and, even out those calories. Maybe it was like 200 extra calories. That's not that big of a deal if you don't allow it to spiral too.
Yeah.
And so
Exactly.
the next one is an emotional eater. So if you're stressed, if you go to food for comfort, loneliness, boredom, any of those emotions, I think it's important to realize that we are eating out of emotion and not hunger. So first of all, are you, hungry? Can you get some real food? But if it's an emotional thing, find another outlet. Like acknowledge that you do have an emotional void right now that needs some comfort or something to do, an activity or something, call a friend, do something, get out, take a walk, or find a hobby or something like that. So replace it.
Yeah, definitely. 7 is just focusing on the past. So just really, similar to what you were saying, like, oh, I'll never get my calories very high because I've just never been able to do that. Like just saying, like, I've never been able to really lose weight and keep it off. So I'm sure I won't this time.
Mhm. Okay, number 8, the Chicken Little syndrome. I never saw that movie. I feel like you need to
The
explain it.
sky is falling.
So, but I'm guessing it has to do with just being overwhelmed. Like
Well,
it's
and that like the world's
doing.
gonna end today. Like the sky
Okay.
is falling. Like we have to yeah,
Like I failed. Why not eat? Like why should I even start? It's too big.
yeah,
You need to
yeah,
start. Set
yep,
little goals. Just start.
exactly. Yep. All right. So number 9 and the last one is the excuse factory. So just making excuses for not eating healthy and exercising, like you're too tired, you're too busy, like um everyone's tired, everyone's busy, but like you can do stuff about it. Like celebrations are going to be all the time. So like if you just give yourself the excuse like, "Oh, it's my birthday, it's this holiday," or like, I've just graduated, or there's always going to be a celebration.
Mhm.
So you have to really like figure out what your goals are and, have that self efficacy to like realize like, okay, these events are going to happen and how can I like navigate them and still align with my goals type of thing rather than just making excuses. So,
Yep.
all right. So our last section of this podcast, I know it's been a little bit long-winded, but when we want to prevent this self-sabotaging. So now we've told you the 9 signs of that. So let's start with some of those.
Okay. You're gonna have to start
You,
number. I don't have this in books.
oh, you don't? Okay. All right. Well, the first one is set realistic goals. So establish achievable long-term goals to keep yourself motivated without overwhelming yourself. So, I'm going to send this to you right now as we're on the
Okay.
podcast.
5. Like
There it
wait,
is.
bottom. Perfect.
So yeah, I mean, that one we kind of talked about earlier, but just really making sure that you're chunking down those big, hairy, audacious goals. So you have the long term, but you're also like taking it in chunks and making sure that we're like, okay, this is what I need to do for this month. This is what I need to do for the
Yeah.
week. This is what I need to do for the day to
Mhm.
achieve that long term goal. So, did you get that second part?
Yep. So
All
number
right, number
2,
2.
we're gonna focus on progress, not perfection. So celebrate your small victories, celebrate even the fact that you can recognize the setback as a learning experience. Anything that's going to help you be more self-aware is a good thing. So learn from the setback instead of staying there and just move on.
Yeah. Number three is create that supportive environment. So you're around people that are encouraging your goals. And I think that's really important to think about is just like, who are those five people that you hang around with the most? You're going to be the average of them. So you want to hang around tens. You want to be around your people. It's just really important that you surround yourself with like-minded individuals so that they're creating a good influence on you and they're pushing you to be a better person, and then you're doing the same for them.
Yes, absolutely. So number four is practicing self-compassion. So being kind to yourself when times are hard, giving yourself grace, treating yourself with the same empathy and understanding and kindness as you would treat a friend. This is huge for you to be able to move on from a setback. Don't play the blame game. Give yourself lots of grace, but also don't use that as a reason to self-sabotage or make excuses. I always like tell myself like you're better than this. Like do better. You can do better. Give yourself grace, but then encourage yourself to move on.
I love your phrase, do better. I always think of you when I hear that, do better.
Do
Um,
better.
yeah, it's simple, but it's very powerful. And so, number five, definitely stress management is key. So, I've done a lot of salt baths since that overeating episode. I've made sure that I have taken some time at night to not spend time around a screen. So I'm not feeling overstimulated,
Mm.
that I'm taking the time to like have that hot bath, read, foam roll, do some activities that are really bringing my CNS down. I've gone on evening walks just to kind of like get my melatonin working and out in nature where I'm not, you know, it's beautiful weather right now. So, I mean, I think that walks in nature can be really therapeutic. Things like that. Do you have any stress management techniques that you've used recently?
I love that. I think everything that you said, for me, like I am a Christian, so reading my Bible, but like what
Yeah.
helps me is actually, like you said, like sitting down with the actual book. So I'll read
Yeah.
my Bible or I will read like a motivational book. Like right now I'm reading a book by Tia Claire Toomey, who is a 6 time world fittest woman, or like an
Oh,
athlete
wow.
like that. And
That's
so
cool.
something like that, like an actual book, just sitting down, reading, filling my head with, positive reinforcement helps a ton with stress.
Absolutely.
Okay, so number six, prioritize rest and recovery. So, like those Epsom salt baths, getting enough sleep, taking rest days where you're actually taking a full day off from the gym, giving yourself a complete break, allowing yourself to actually miss it versus getting burned out, but also promoting muscle recovery. This is a tough one for me because the gym is one of my favorite places in the world, and I look
Yes.
forward to going there. But I will find that I love being in the gym atmosphere and at the gym. I love that. But if I go too many days without taking a rest day, I'll end up just kind of going through the motions and I'm not
Mhm.
able to push myself as hard as I need to because I haven't let my body recover. So
Yeah.
take a break, you know.
Yeah. I used to be like team all day, every day. And the most I would be able to do is like 80% because I never allowed myself to like sharpen the saw and actually get in there. And I mean, this year is the first year that I only train 5 days a week. So I'm actually taking 2 rest days a week. And it's been world changing because, like you said, you come into the gym with so much energy and then you actually get sore because you're actually like really pushing yourself, because you've sharpened the saw and you're like ready to cut into that wood. You're not just like grinding away with a dull blade. Okay, so number seven is seek professional guidance. I think we've hammered this one. With working with a coach, obviously, in a bodybuilding space, you want to have that. But I think also just like psychological and mental side of things. Like I had mentioned that I talked to my therapist. I think just getting an outside opinion about like the way you view things, that it's not like you're, you know, like talking with your partner or your friend, like they are just like a licensed person that, understands the workings of like how to build a really strong mentality. And it's really, I mean, it's therapeutic to go to a therapist.
Mhm.
So I'm a huge believer in that. And I have to say that this is like the first I've only been seeing one for like a year and I had never done it, but I think it definitely helps a lot. I don't
Yeah,
know what
I
your
love
thoughts are.
it. I love it. I mean, we go to the dentist for checkups. We don't just go when we have a toothache, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
by the
Yeah.
time you have a toothache, you've already got a big problem. So
That's right. Yeah.
okay, so number 8 is to maintain a balanced lifestyle. So, not to get so consumed with bodybuilding or consumed with your prep that you live on an island and you don't make time for friends, hobbies, socializing, going on trips, visiting your family, having parties, going out with friends. You can do all those things and not eat or drink alcohol or do things that would, you know, delay your prep or get in the way of your prep. Try to
Yeah.
do an active hobby. You play tennis, or take a walk or a bike ride with friends or something like that. But I would say put effort into having that balance because that'll help prevent burnout or you just getting like starting to resent your prep because you feel like it just consumes your whole life.
Yeah, I was just having this conversation with one of my clients just about like finding a way to continue to socialize and things like that. And even though my calories are really low right now and I'm very focused on my goal, I'm still going out to dinner at least once a week. It might be lettuce and grilled chicken or lettuce with like grilled shrimp.
Mhm.
And I'm drinking club soda with a lime, but like it means a lot to me to like sit down with somebody and like have a quality conversation in a nice atmosphere and just getting outside and doing something like that. I really do feel like it prevents diet burnout, even though you're not like having an extravagant, like crazy amount of calorie meal, but you still get that element of feeling like special, I guess, like spending special time with that person. Number 9 is practice positive self-talk. So just replacing those negative thoughts with positive affirmations, really believing in yourself and your ability to succeed. And this was something that, like, when my coach was like really hammering with me, is just like that I've been so used to not like hitting that ultimate goal of going pro that like I've almost adapted myself to like almost self-sabotage myself to not like allow myself to think about that actually happening. I know that's kind of deep and everything, but like I really do feel strongly about the fact that you need to believe in yourself that you can actually achieve something, and that will really prevent that self-sabotage. It really will.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so the last one is 10, stay adaptable, be flexible. Don't be so rigid with everything. It's not all black and white. Sometimes your prep strategies are going to change. From prep
Mhm.
to prep, your strategies are probably going to change.
Yeah.
So the more flexible you can be and willing to adjust your plan, willing to try new things with your coach based on feedback from your body, biofeedback, based on your progress assessments, if you can stay flexible and keep going and not let your failures be an end, but be just a stepping stone to a new like learning lesson, a stronger mental capacity, more success in the future, you're going to be unstoppable. You're going to totally reduce the likelihood of self sabotage and just increase your chances of success.
Yeah, I love that that's the last one because I think that that wraps up all of this really, really well. So, any closing thoughts on self-sabotage or any sort of like setback talks?
I just love the idea that a setback actually strengthens you to take a step forward. It can actually be a good thing because it can make
Mhm.
you stronger, it can make you a better competitor, a better client, a better athlete, a better coach if you are a coach. So start viewing setbacks, anticipate that they're going to happen, but act like they're not. And then
Yeah.
when they do happen, address it and move on.
I think too, it just really brings that focus on appreciation of like what your body can do for you, especially if you have an injury or a surgery or an illness. Like it really makes you appreciate what your body's doing for you when it's in a healthy state and things like that. So I think just like that gratitude piece is really big. So with that, if you would like to give us any sort of suggestions on topics, I kind of just I like the kind of like the real life problems of I just always want people to like learn from any sort of mistake, because I think that, you know, nothing is not worth it if someone, like including yourself, can learn from it and move on. So I mean, we're human here. You know, we have these issues that go on. So if there's anything that you would like for us to talk about that listeners are interested, please feel free to DM us on Instagram at Prep Life Podcast or at Glam Girl Bikini. You can always feel free, if you're watching on YouTube, to pop something in the comments about like what you thought of the episode or what you want us to dive deeper into next time, things like that. We always appreciate ratings and reviews. We keep this podcast ad free. So anytime you can share the love and leave a rating and review, it just helps other listeners that are interested in the same type of topics. It helps us help other people. So if you liked it, please give us some love in that regard. And if you would like coaching from either one of us, you can go to glamgirlbikini.com and hit the get started button. Thanks for listening, guys.